Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Jabroni Drive. On this week's episode, we talk about Friday Night SmackDown, the Bloodline, Monday Night Raw, Seth freaking Rollins, the man Becky Lynch, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Night of Champions, and the greatest debuts in WWE history. Will this be the greatest show ever? I think it will. Tim, you got 3 words for our audience?
What's up? Let's go.
Are you ready? Oh my gosh. That song. I can't not get hyped with that song.
You didn't tease me up properly for that. I wasn't ready for that. I mean, are you ready? It's easy, but I mean, you got the DX shirt on. I'm rocking the hit, man. On the excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there is, the best there ever will be. I mean,
what? The best there is, the best there is, the best there is, the best there was.
That's what I just said.
Oh, well, I'm going to review that. I feel like
maybe
you said the best there is, the best there is, the best there ever is.
Yeah. I would never say that. Me, actually, a buddy of mine used to do that for about 5 years in a row. We would talk about the Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and then we talk about the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Like that was like our handshake. It was like weird. It was weird.
Well, hey, doesn't sound weird to me. But we have a lot to talk about on this show, and first things first, we're going to talk with the Bloodline. So the Bloodline seems to still be falling apart. You know, they're at odds. The SmackDown started hot. You come out with Roman Reigns and the Usos, and Roman Reigns comes out and he's talking back and forth with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they're starting to argue back and forth. Next thing you know, the Usos come out, and Roman is visibly upset by the Usos coming out and getting interfered in. And to where backstage, he yells at them that he had something more he wanted to say. He wasn't happy with how they were. And he admonished, he's a tribal chief. They don't understand what's going on. Tim, this is all falling apart. And are we going to come to an end of the Bloodline saga, or is there going to be a full split at Night of Champions?
It's culminating to a head here, Tom. From what we're seeing, it's back to better storytelling, right? We asked for that from right after WrestleMania. It seemed to fall for a little bit, and there was accusations of Vince McMahon taking over and running creative, and it just seems like that's not really the case. Seems like we're heading into a pretty decent direction with some of these storylines, and the deterioration of the Bloodline seems to be one of those headlines, right? Not sure where it's heading. I like the direction that it's going, though, right? So we're seeing, the split. There's always been this Jey Uso thing,
right?
That has been overshadowing the Bloodline with obviously with Sami Zayn involved, and it seems like Sami and KO are trying to distance themselves from the whole Bloodline situation, but they keep getting pulled back in and pulled back in, so they can't escape it. They've thrown some other characters in it. They've thrown the Judgment Day in there a little bit, and now they're obviously
Imperium, Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle's involved. So, I mean, they're kind of intertwining some other characters in it, and it's nice to see it branch out a little bit.
It feels like it's going in the right direction. I feel like they've kind of righted the ship after the WrestleMania fallout, where we felt that they were not telling the story correctly. There's some other storylines that we're not really happy with, or how the build was going on with that.
Yeah.
I think a big help was how great Backlash was. That brought us all right back in, how good it was. And, Roman, Jey, Jimmy, they are great. Jey Uso, to me, is one of the most underrated selling a storyline guys that there is in professional wrestling right now. He knows how to sell and stuff like that. One of the big things from this past weekend, Tim, and I want to ask you about this, is after Roman and Solo and Sammy and KO are going back and forth and the Usos get involved, Roman storms out and he looks like he bumps into Solo. And there's a moment, there's a pause there, and there's a look at each other. And I hope I'm wrong. Are they setting this up for Solo to be the guy that is going to be dethroning Roman Reigns?
So I'm seeing a lot of rumors. I'm searching the web, you know.
Yeah. One
I'm
of the
on
best parts of professional wrestling is the rumors. I mean, it's
I'm on
great.
I'm on the Twitter, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of chatter about Roman Reigns possibly taking some time off and pursuing a Hollywood career, right? That's the one thing that I'm seeing. And I don't get it. Um, the dude's at the top of his game right now in terms of wrestling. And it's not like he's been there forever, right? A lot of these guys, I mean, look, The Rock had a short window, right? Everyone feels like The Rock has been one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But theoretically, I mean, he was really only in the WWE full time for what, a decade, maybe?
Not even.
Not even.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the blueprint. Maybe that's what Roman,
Well,
you know,
Roman's been in over a decade now. I want to
yeah.
say he debuted in 2012 with
But
the Shield.
I mean, but The Rock had a probably a 5 to 6 year reign where he was
The guy.
the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Roman's maybe 2 years into that, right? I mean, he's been pushed for 5 or 6, but I mean, he's not really reached the crescendo until this past 2 years, maybe
Yeah,
since
I would
COVID.
say coming out of the pandemic, he
Yeah,
really hit his stride and has been his best self,
yeah.
if you would.
So, I don't, I don't know if this is a solo. Look, you know how I feel about Solo. We've talked about it several times on the show. I mean, the dude makes the Uso face. He does his throat spike, and that's his match. He doesn't do anything that really impresses me in the ring. Um, Not that of some of the other top performers that we see, like Gunther and Sheamus and Austin Theory and these guys that
Cody
moves.
Rhodes, even a
Yeah,
Jey Uso. I mean, Solo he doesn't have a look of a monster like they build him, you know. He's not a Brock Lesnar. He's not as big as a Gunther or a Drew McIntyre. And he certainly doesn't have the mic skills. We hardly ever hear him on the microphone or talk at all.
he has a very similar feel to, and this is going back, and tell me if this parallels, what you're thinking, but very Shawn Michaels Diesel type situation here, where like Diesel was just a bodyguard, and then all of a sudden they strapped him with the belt. After Shawn, went on his hiatus with he had his demons and things of that
Right.
nature, right?
He
And
lost
then
his
all of a sudden,
smile.
yeah, like like the Diesel all of a sudden is a heavyweight champion, and you're like,
Well,
all right,
I would say that it's not even to that level with Solo because and it's hard because obviously Diesel and Kevin Nash, whoever, he had the career afterwards. So it's hard to make that judgment. But when he was first coming out, like you said, he didn't talk, he was quiet, but much bigger than a Solo Sikoa. I
oh
mean,
yeah, no, no, I'm
he's
not
close to 7 feet tall.
right.
He's
Well, no,
much bigger.
he's more of the monster, but I'm saying in terms of just like a guy that just erupts on the scene, really doesn't say much, really doesn't do much. I mean, you
Right.
see, look,
But
look,
we talked
Diesel
about
made
the believability of a Solo,
right,
He's not that monster. He's not that Brock Lesnar. And
right.
I'm not saying Kevin Nash is Brock Lesnar, but that
Oh, he's
size, that
yeah,
believability.
he was Big Daddy cool. Look,
Yeah.
he had the feel of a guy that just impressed you. Like Solo doesn't, but I mean, just
Similar
the
quiet roles. I see what you're
right,
saying.
right.
And then
That's
they
it.
come in and they give they gave Nash the push. Are they giving Solo the push?
I mean, he
You know,
hasn't, dude. The only person that defeated him was Cody Rhodes. That's
yeah.
it. I mean, he just came out of nowhere as part of the bloodline. He was just an afterthought, like kind of a throw-in, and then now he's headlining SmackDown. He's getting tossed into these main events and in the uh, PSLs or whatever they're fucking called. I don't
PLEs,
know.
pay-per-views. You can
PLEs,
say pay-per-views,
pay
premium
per
live
views,
events.
and I hate it. I don't think he deserves it.
I hate that he doesn't wear shoes, Tim. I hate it. I hate that he
That's
doesn't
what I hate
wear
about the
shoes.
bro, dude. I
Me
hate Jared.
too.
Dude, what are you doing coming down barefoot? Like, come on.
Put
Like,
some shoes on.
we talked about this before, I think.
I hate it. It hurts his character to me. I really do. I don't like it. You're doing all these flips and stuff like that. It's like you put some fucking shoes on, man. You could really be something if you could do that. I don't know. Well, it was good. I like the storytelling of it. Like you said, they're going to be on the show this Friday, so I'm looking forward to see that in the build to Night of Champions. Another wrestler, AJ Styles, was on the Grayson Waller effect, and Grayson Waller's an NXT call up. He's gotten a lot of notoriety from NXT and certain things he's done with Shawn Michaels as far as mic work and promo skills and stuff like that. I thought the promo with AJ Styles was decent. You got a taste of his, kind of being, I guess, a jerk, and what he does and this arrogant kind of guy. I feel like he can be someone that develops into a top performer in the WWE. What did you think of that promo? What did you think of the things that went on with him and AJ Styles?
Um, so I saw this guy one time on NXT, probably about 2 or 3 months ago. I forget. Actually, he was interviewing. I guess Scott Steiner's son is in
Yeah,
NXT.
no, yeah, Braun Breaker. He's in NXT and he was the NXT champion for a long time. He's not the NXT champion anymore, but he's taken on a heel role, which he's getting a lot of rave reviews. And he's a Steiner, and he's a physical specimen. He's hard hitting. I feel like he's gonna when they bring him to WWE, he's going right to the top of the card. He's going to be
Okay.
a star when he comes to like the main roster.
Well, I remember seeing. Well, so I remember seeing this promo. He was on the Grayson Waller effect. I guess they did that down in the NXT,
Yep.
and it just didn't hit for me. And I was like, dude, this is bad. Like it was almost bad TV. I was like, this is terrible. Like, how are people watching this? Um, Not much feedback from the crowd. Again, I know NXT is a different type of venue. They're not filling the rafters, and people aren't probably as invested. But I think back in the day, it used to be like one of their best shows. Correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was great. In their pay-per-views, the takeovers are storied and some of the greatest matches of all time. And that was Triple H. I went to go see them down in the Tower Theater years ago. They started doing a traveling. I saw them at Tower Theater, and Enzo Amore and Big Cass opened up for them, and the crowd was hot, and they had a lot of great guys that they developed. Things have happened, big stars from NXT. Not all of them have carried over. They seem to be bringing back Shinsuke Nakamura, which I'm happy because he is someone that can put on a great show. His entrance can be an all-time entrance. And his match work, he's good at reading a crowd. The language barrier is tough. I think Grayson Waller has a chance to be a good character in WWE. He's gonna have to show us a little bit more than just, oh, I'm a jerk that does mean things and this and that, like
They
really
already
get us
have one of those.
invested.
I mean, it just felt like a carbon copy of like Miz TV a little bit.
You're
You know?
right. It is very carbon copy. There is a great like he's not the Grayson Waller effect is no outside the box. I don't see anything that I haven't seen before.
Right. We've seen this with
Cookie
like,
cutter.
yeah. I mean, KO did his show, right? Like he had his little KO TV, Miz TV, and then
Yeah.
I mean, how many other wrestlers have done this? Where they Jericho did it, I think, for a
Yeah.
little while,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I mean, there's time and place for that stuff, but like these interviews, they're pointless. They're just space fillers, in my opinion. And it's a callback to back in the day, right? One of the greatest moments in WWE history ever taken place with Barber Talk, right?
Oh yeah, the barbershop.
With Barbershop Talk when
Shawn
Marty
Michaels
Jin.
turned on Marty Jannetty,
Yeah.
and Marty Jannetty, like a coward, dove out that window.
This is a great call by Bobby the Brain. One of the best of all time. If you ever have a chance to go back and listen to that, it's hysterical. But um, look, there's a time and place for these things, and you just don't want to saturate like the entire show with this shit, dude. Like,
Right.
I
But
mean,
they got to fill some time, and
yeah, but
that's what they're doing. And
people want to watch wrestling, and there's time for storytelling, and these guys are getting their opportunity coming up from NXT, and they need to make an impact. I get that. But like, dude, you're gonna bring a guy out and have him do his show. I don't know. I just don't know
and
if
it
that
was
was a
all fine, and it was like this and that. It gave AJ Styles time to talk about it, and then he says, you know, and the new champion, Seth freaking Rollins, and that was his big dig, and it was kind of anticlimactic. It was like, okay,
yeah.
that's what we get, and
It
then
fell
they get a
flat.
stare down, and next thing you know, so he seems to be having something going on with AJ Styles. I don't know what's going on with that. And then a carrying cross in the background also drew a tarot card that was AJ Styles. So some weird things going on with AJ Styles. Last week we had talked about how I thought, and I think we both maybe agreed, I forget, but Seth Rollins has to win and spoiler alert, he has to win the heavyweight championship because they need that title on Monday Night Raw. There are no titles on Monday Night Raw besides the Intercontinental Championship. A lot of belts are on SmackDown. So I feel like it's set up for something that, oops, storytelling, it has to go this way, and we can move on from that. Seth Rollins is a fine pick for a champion. If that's the way it happens, then we can look back and say, wow, we knew it because mathematically you need the belt on that show. Is it going to be Grayson Waller interfering? Is it going to be Karrion Kross interfering? We don't know. We'll see where that
Yeah.
storyline goes, and hopefully Triple H and the guys that are in charge of creative have something planned for us. So just to shout out a couple more matches: LA Knight and Rick Boogs versus Street Profits. LA Knight and Rick Boogs lose to the Street Profits, and then LA Knight quickly turns on Rick Boogs after that. I'm hoping they can get LA Knight involved in something. I don't know if you can see the reaction from the crowd. They like LA Knight. Just
Yeah.
use them. Just give them something.
Quick shout out to Rick Boogs. I mean, did you see that match?
He's a monster, dude. He
Dude,
was pressing him and throwing these guys around, a physical specimen. He's a
yo,
weird guy, though.
he's strange. He's crazy. Kind of like a Al Snow, if
I
you
was
will.
just gonna say that. He reminded me of Al Snow, dude.
Yeah, yeah. That guy is just like nuts, but my God, he is freakishly strong. I mean, he did, I think, 10 military presses of
Montez Ford. Yeah.
Montez Ford, and then he did, I think, 8 curls of
Angelo
what's
Dawkins.
Angelo Dawkins, and just threw him into the corner. Like, the guy is just insanely freakishly strong, and like to bury that guy in your roster is such a shame. If you can't find something to do with that dude, I mean, that's just terrible booking. I mean, he just has he's just insanely strong. I mean, I know strength just doesn't do it, but I mean, it just was like an impressive showing for me from a guy that
I
hasn't
agree.
seen him wrestle in a long time. But yeah, LA Knight, dude, he's got the charisma, he's got the look. He certainly uh is close to being a main eventer, in my opinion. I mean, he was wrapped up in that storyline that fell flat because of whatever the issues with Bray Wyatt are, and hopefully he gets himself involved in something different. But he's kind of a guy, just he's aimlessly just wandering around in like WWE universe, like not knowing what the fuck to do with himself. And hopefully, they find something that's meaningful for him moving forward.
Yeah. So there's been rumors that he might be the guy to win the Money in the Bank contract. That's going to be a huge premium live event coming up in about a month, and we're really looking forward to that. So One final thing, and I talked about it last week on the show. I had said I would love for an Austin Theory to go against a guy like a Sheamus. Reminds me of when Triple H went against Mankind, and it helped develop that character into someone that the fans loved because they're like, wow, this dude is really tough. If Sheamus and Theory end up going back and forth and having matches together, I really feel like this can help Theory's career in the fact that Sheamus is gonna fucking lay it in there when you're out there in a match with him. He still can go at the top level, one of the best, me and you agree, one of the best superstars in the world of professional wrestling. And if they can have some matches like a Sheamus Gunther, Sheamus McIntyre, and Theory can step in and be the guy that Sheamus helps put over, I really think
Yeah.
that can do a lot for Austin Theory's career. And I feel like it could take him to the next level into a main event guy, not just the lower belts, but a top belt guy if that happens. So I really hope they go with that. Tim, did you see that interaction? And what do you think? You think that can work out?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I saw that towards, I think it was right before the USO match, that took place. And yeah, it's a good start, right? Let's just see where they go with it. I'm tempering expectations with what they do with Austin Theory because the bookings haven't been great for him. With what we said in the past, they keep on throwing Bobby Lashley and John Cena, and I just want to see him involved in a deeper storyline that has some meaning to it that's going to result in something tangible at the end, right?
Right.
Um,
And at some
so
point, it becomes him because he's held the United States title for quite a while.
yeah,
And not that it's been a long run, but you're
yeah,
coming at the edge of a long run. We're what are we looking at? 4 or 5 months now that he's held the
but
title?
yeah, but it's also it's kind of like a forgetful run.
Yes, very forgetful. Very. And that's what I'm saying is that him, is that the booking? Like, you know, every time he wins, it seems to be like, somewhat of an interference or this and that. And as much as Cena cut that promo and they interviewed John Cena this week about the promo that he cut on Austin Theory, and he praised Austin Theory a lot, saying that they wrote the promo together and that they worked on it and everything like that. However, he wasn't lying when he said what he said, and that being that he's not interested and that they have to pipe in crowd noise and that no one is caring about what you're doing. And as much as me and you see the potential in an Austin Theory, at some point, hey, you need to live up to it.
Yeah,
Like, when is
he's
this
got to
happening? I'm
deliver.
hoping Sheamus can put him over. What do you think?
No, I'm going in my head and I'm thinking of like who is the best, like, because you need somebody credible. Like John Cena is not at this point in his career, he's not a credible guy, right? To put
In
somebody
ring,
over.
yeah, he's not seasoned anymore. He's had one match in over a year.
Yeah.
Like he had the match on New Year's Eve or whatever it was, and then WrestleMania, and that's it. And the build to that WrestleMania match, Cena was only on TV one time, and that was in Boston. He only gave that one promo where he shit all
Uh,
over him, and then it's not like he came back and they had a back and forth. He didn't really give him that opportunity.
yeah, I think he's got an uphill battle. Um, I mean, maybe like maybe an edge. Maybe that would be a good pairing, but I mean, like I don't know. I mean, when I said earlier, I think a couple weeks ago that like an Austin Theory like Logan Paul match would have been a nice little kind of matchup between those two guys. But the dude only works 3 times a year, and that's not an invested storyline that you can book him into, right? Like because he's a part timer, so you got to find somebody that's legit. Like, it's tough to go through the roster and say who that would be, but I mean
I
they
like the Sheamus setup right now. I feel like we see where that goes. I would love something like, and Sheamus has done this in the past, if maybe Austin Theory pulls out a win, but it's not like in the right way, there's some sort of foul play, and the guy comes out and says, you know what, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna have a best of 7 series against Sheamus, which leads to, the SummerSlam uh seventh match for the winner gets the United States title, and you get to have these series of matches where they just beat the hell out of each other. You can build a lot of credibility with Austin Theory. Sheamus obviously already has it, and they'll put on some bangers left and right, banger after banger after banger.
Tom,
So
that's quite the theory you have there.
ha, I see what you did. I see what you did. So we had the Usos ended up losing. They're still falling apart, and we're going to see what's going on with that this Friday, and then obviously leading into Night of Champions. So Monday night starts out with a big bang. You got Brock Lesnar coming in, attacking Cody Rhodes. And this is what makes Brock Lesnar so good and underrated, and I know it's hard to say that Brock Lesnar is ever underrated, but Tim, if you're watching what happened, you're like, holy shit, he is beating the hell out of this guy. A little bit of questioning on the story, he slams that keg up against the thing. Very believable. Very, oh, what was that? Like you're like, oh my gosh, you really hurt him. But is it too much in the development of a face? Like is he gonna fight? Is he fighting Brock Lesnar with a broken arm? And I will just say this one thing. Since WrestleMania, the night after, with the attack, the turn, then we have the fight at Backlash, then we have the attack after Backlash, and we have the attacks these weeks and all this other stuff. I've loved all of those. The only thing lacking for me is what, Tim? The reason why. Everything else has been great. Why?
The
Why?
modus operandi, if you will.
Modus operandi. What is his motive? Why is he doing this? They've teased it possibly, and we had mentioned this before. Is he working with the Bloodline, or is he working for a Triple H? Triple H has a big history with Cody Rhodes. Could he have hired Brock Lesnar and talked to him? Hey, I want you to take this guy out. I don't know. Tim, what do you think of this whole build? The match at Backlash obviously was great. Where we're heading in a Night of Champions, I'm invested. I am invested.
Right. So we were watching this. You were a little bit behind me yesterday watching Raw, and I had a theory. I didn't have a theory, but I was watching and I sent you a text. I said weird. I sent you just one text and it said weird. And what was strange to me, because I didn't want to give you any insight or anything like that.
No spoilers. Right.
And what was weird to me was exactly what you brought up, is the manner in which the result of Brock's attack on Cody was. So the way that it seemed, that I'm sitting here thinking to myself, is Cody have some time off upcoming? I'm like, what is going on right now? Because they're suggesting that his arm's broken. I'm like, all right, so this dude's going to be off TV for quite some time. That maybe he has, I don't know, maybe his wife's pregnant or something. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Is he really injured?
Right,
is he going to have to recover from that? And he needs a couple months off. And so they're writing a broken arm into the story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's usually what you see when you see these injuries and these backstage, like it's happened to Becky Lynch before. It's happened to other stars where all of a sudden they're attacked backstage and boom, they're off TV for 2 months. Right. And at the end of the episode, like, the dude comes out and he's trying to fight Brock Lesnar with a broken arm, and Brock puts him in a Kimura. And then theoretically at the end of that, you see Brock like put a little extra effort into the Kimura, and it looks like he just legit like takes his arm off.
Yeah.
So,
and he does that little twist, which he's done before with Triple H. And he, like I said, when we were watching the match and we're broadcasting live, he put him in the Kimura lock, and I said, this is a lock that he broke Triple H's arm with years ago. And he gives that little twist, and that sells. And it's like, oh my God, he snapped it. And so, and then, but this has Vince's fingerprints all over it. This is like Vince is like he's overcoming every obstacle, unsurmountable. He's wrestling with a broken arm. And now we've
Right.
seen Cody with a torn pec do it, but it's like this is why people turn on faces because it's like too unbelievable.
Right.
Is this
So
bad booking? Cody makes it work. He always makes it
now,
work,
look,
but
I think it's going down the right path. I just don't need the extra mustard on the hot dog, if you will, right?
yeah.
Give me a break with this whole broken arm thing. Like, because look, you listen to
Something with a
WWE.
ligament. Just say his ligament damage, something that like he can still fight, but
So we watched. Just to my point, right? Just follow me here.
Okay, sorry.
So no, it's okay. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest had that match, right? At Backlash, and Bad Bunny attacked Damian Priest's knee throughout the entire match, right? And worked that knee incredibly well, right? I mean, the whole match used the ring pole, like everything, chair. And Damian Priest comes out the next night and he's hobbling, right? And you hear like listen to the Busted Open podcast, and Bubba Dudley saying like, "Hey, like you got to sell that thing. Like you got to come out on Raw with it like taped up, or you got to have a limp, right? Like, what are people supposed to see the next time Cody Rhodes comes out at a WWE event? Is he supposed to be in a fucking body cast? Like
Right. It's too
seriously,
much. It's too
like
much.
it's nuts. Like you got to make it believable. And Night of Champions is in a week, dude. It's
Yeah.
next Saturday, and there's no way that
They
you
should have
can
done
make.
this the day after Backlash.
Yeah,
Give
and
it a
then
couple weeks to heal.
put him on a shelf. Maybe have him come out like in a sling, and
Even
all of a
bandaged
sudden,
up. It's all bandaged up. Whatever. Something.
yeah, and he can attack him a couple different times, and like you can damage it a little bit more, but like to make it look that bad, and there's no result from it. Like he's going to show up to Backlash on Saturday with no slam. He's just going to come out. I
I
mean,
hope it's taped up. I hope it's something, tape
was
up
he going
that
to have?
arm, the
He's going to
elbow,
have
and
KT tape on or something like that. Like,
yeah,
oh, it's not broken. I got it examined. Like, what is he going to
the
show a doc?
hairline.
Going to show a doctor's note to the crowd? Like,
They probably will.
it's. I just that's the thing that gets me. So I mean,
Okay.
hopefully it goes over well.
Hey, dude, I totally agree. It's a little too much. Like, let's not go too crazy. The arm is injured. Let's just say that. Broken? Come on. So, we're looking at the card for Night of Champions right now, and there's a lot of great matches. I'm loving this card. Okay? So, some big a lot of women's matches too. High women's card. So, we got Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. We got Bianca Belair versus Asuka. We've got Natalia versus Rhea Ripley. And then we have Gunther versus Mustafa Ali. We got the tag team championship match. We got Brock versus Cody. And we've got AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins. Tim, my question to you is what is the match that should finish the show?
Hold on. Before we dive into that, I also sent you a text on Monday night that one of the greatest moments of all time in Raw happened. And I have to bring it up. Did you see this moment when Mustafa Ali is getting interviewed?
Yes, get a life, dude.
Dude, I was dying laughing, dude. It was I don't even it had to be planned, right?
For
Like
those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Mustafa Ali is getting interviewed. Brock Lesnar says for them to hit his music. He's walking out. He turns to Mustafa Ali and says, "Get a life, dude."
who's spilling out his guts, by the way,
Yeah,
talking
right.
about how great like he got an opportunity, yada yada. Yeah,
This is the greatest moment of my life. I have a chance at the Intercontinental Championship. I've always taught to take a positive attitude. Blah 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 blah. Brock walks by and says, "Get a life." His
get
music
a
starts
life,
playing.
kid. and goes through the curtains, dude. It was an absolute kill by Brock Lesnar, dude. It was fucking fantastic. Timing on it was perfect. It was just, I mean, I hope it wasn't planned because it was fantastic. Anyway,
I will say this one more thing too. I'm sorry. There was a promo between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, and something about that promo. I have not been a big Becky Lynch fan. However, I can't deny that she says he's cutting things. My just the thing I think about is why does no one go back at Becky Lynch the way that she attacks other wrestlers verbally? She brought up something. There's video years ago when Trish Stratus was Vince McMahon was taking control. He made her bark on TV on all fours, and she brought that up and said, and then she's barking at her the whole show now and like saying this and that. Newsflash, Becky Lynch, you couldn't hang back in the day in the Attitude Era. I'm sorry. You think you're all that. You could not hang back in the Attitude Era with those women and what they had to go through and the things they had to do. And everything that Trish Stratus said was true. They laid the foundation. She was belittled and all this other stuff. It's part of storylines, and Vince was this. That was his character. You couldn't handle it, and you couldn't hang back then. So shut the fuck up, Becky Lynch. But maybe
whoa,
that's good for her because it's making
whoa.
me dislike her even more. I'm not a Becky Lynch fan. She's overrated. She's very CM Punk to me, and that's not to say she's not a star. Clearly she is, but she doesn't do it for me. Sorry, I had to bring it up. That dig and that talk, for as much as you want to go off about being this, empowering women, the four horsemen, and stuff like that, and then for you to say something along those lines, whether it be a character or not, I feel like you're a hypocrite. You're the biggest hypocrite going. And guess what? You know what? Yeah, you're married to the guy that is the guy in WWE, at least one of the top guys in the WWE, like whatever. We can go there's pictures of you with LA Knight floating around too. You know what I mean? But
Whoa,
yeah, let's
whoa.
bring that up, I it was below the belt to me. And maybe they worked on it together. I'm sure they did, but and kudos to Becky because if that's the case, hey, good line by you. But I just feel like, meh, that's just
This
I
is
don't know.
this is like a throwback to the women of wrestling days. Look at you, dude.
Yeah.
You're
I didn't love it. I didn't love that promo, but she does this shit all the time. Like she's this freaking untouchable thing, and I just don't understand why people don't go back at her. Like,
well, it's a and
screw
look,
you.
she's built a brand, dude, and they fed into it. I
Yeah, she
mean, she
stole
was
it. She stole the name. She stole the nickname, the man. That's Ric Flair's. You stole it from the father of the goat, Charlotte. I don't know. She bothers me.
wow. Looks like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we found some kryptonite in Tommy's game here.
Trigger
That
word.
is
Trigger.
that is Becky Lynch
What'd you say?
and Riddle. I mean,
Yeah.
we could go down the
Put some
list here.
shoes on.
Oh, actually, we have not brought up. Can we please address before we move on to the
What?
Night of Champions? Can we please address one of our favorite wrestlers that we haven't brought up in the course of the last three shows since he hasn't been on TV?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Mister
Mr. Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. Kudos. We listen. We know that you're still there. All right.
And we're here for
So
you.
we're here for you. Look, if you're not getting any airtime there, feel free to come on the Schmidt and Lavelle Jabroni Drive podcast.
Yeah. And Tim, let's get back to the question I asked you originally. What is the match that should end the night of champions?
All
What's the
right.
main event?
So give it to me again. I'm sorry.
Well, the three
Run.
I would say that are in contention are Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, the tag
Mhm.
team championship match, and the world heavyweight championship match. I don't think the Intercontinental championship match should be the main event, and certainly none of the women's matches should be.
All right. So in this order, I would say if you're gonna headlock, if you're debuting a new belt and it's that meaningful to the brand, I think you have to do the World Heavyweight Championship match as the main event. I think you have to put Roman Reigns in that second event because he's the guy that holds all the titles. I think the tag team belts have to be the second main event, and then before that, it has to be the Cody Rhodes Brock Lesnar. So Brock and Cody, Roman Reigns KO tag team match, and then the World Heavyweight Championship match. Like that's the way I would do it. If you want this belt to have as much meaning as the belts that Roman hit, I mean, that's the only
Right.
way I see. The only way I see it. But
It has
again,
to main event with it being what has been rumored, what they want the WW like the championship heavyweight championship match or belt to mean. It has to be the main belt. If they want it to have this
right?
prestige, it
Yeah.
has to be the biggest prize.
I just I don't like that AJ Styles is the other guy in that match. Even though he's a great performer, I just don't think he has that cachet right now. That's just
Hmm.
that's
I don't
just
know.
my
I'm not upset with it, but
that's
I
just my
hear what you're
opinion.
saying.
I know he's dude, I know he's a fantastic wrestler. I know he's the top probably five wrestler in the world. Everyone gives him his flowers for how he performs in a ring. I know a lot of people like if he's in the ring, everyone feels comfortable that a good show is going to be delivered, right? I
Right.
just I just he just to me never has had that star quality that I think you need. Like the Undertaker match with him and the Undertaker, like I know that like little show that they put on. I felt it would be bigger if they did it with somebody else. Like that, I think that would have been like an awesome Seth Rollins spot, dude. Like that would have been perfect. Like to do that with Seth Rollins because like that's more along the lines of like a Seth than a because AJ's such a clean cut dude, right? Like he's kind of like a cookie cutter guy in my opinion. Like
A
he's
next door neighbor kind of guy.
he's a dude, he's a face, right? And you can never turn him heel, in my opinion. Like he's just not a great heel.
I don't disagree with you there. I don't think that's it. I'm okay with him in this match. Like we talked about earlier, I feel like he definitely loses, and I feel like he's a star to have in the match. Like he's someone that you can put on a card that is, a top level performer. He might not be the guy, but you know what I'm
He
saying, a
would be
workhorse.
he would he would be a great US title guy. Like take that from Austin Theory, and then dude, I would love to see obviously Austin Theory vaulted into that championship contender match, like him and Seth Rollins go at it, and they start a little build there. But I think you gotta strip Gunther of the Intercontinental title, have him
That's
lose it, and then get him because dude, he's just
That's your big prediction. And I've been reading a lot of stuff. You made a prediction last week that Mustafa Ali shocks the world,
yeah
takes the title. That would be the highlight, that would be the news of the show if that
yeah.
were to happen.
And the
Ironically, I believe it was the day before the 1-2-3 Kid beating Razor Ramon, one of the biggest shocks in the
right, yeah,
history of professional
yeah.
wrestling. It was the day before that. And
The
we
Bob Backlund we covered, right? Did we touch on that?
Yes, we did, Bob Backlund. And so, Timmy, this is going to lead me to our next thing. So we both agree that the main event of the show should be Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship belt. On this day in professional wrestling, and I don't want to get too dark for the crowd. However, today
Oh no,
in wrestling
no.
history
It
is
has anything to do with this?
it does.
Oh, Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. Today is the
No
day that
way.
Owen Hart passed away. And Tim, were you watching that pay-per-view?
Um, I had to be because it was in 97,
I want to say it was 99.
99. Yeah, I had to be because I at that point I was buying every pay-per-view via the alt buy button on my Wade Cablevision box in Philadelphia. and I used to have anywhere from 10 to 15 people. I don't think they caught it on tape.
No, it wasn't on tape, and there was some big. There was
He
a
was the
lot.
he was the Blue Blazer at
It
that
was the
time, right?
Blue Blazer at
Yeah,
that point,
and
and
no one knew that he was the Blue Blazer, right?
all-time character, and someone that that guy. I mean, what 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 I really remember is the following night on Monday Night Raw when they interviewed the wrestlers, and you really got that behind the scenes stuff. And Mick Foley is talking about how much he loved Owen and how much his kids loved Owen, and they thought that when people called him Nugget, if you remember, they chanted at him Nugget because Shawn Michaels said that he was that little nugget in the toilet that you flush and it just won't go down the toilet, and they started calling him Nugget, and they thought that it was a term of endearment. They thought it was something that the fans loved him. The Nugget, Nugget, Nugget. And so he tells that story, and Triple H and China breaking down. And that was at the 1999 Over the Edge pay-per-view. Certainly something that is a historical thing in professional wrestling. And just that whole story of the Hart Foundation,
Yeah.
Owen Hart, Bret Hart, and everyone involved. It's there's so many different things that happened at that time period, and for that to happen, and just obviously one of the craziest moments, and they got ripped for continuing the pay-per-view. But it was uncharted territory. I feel bad for the wrestlers. They should have hindsight stopped it all, but you don't know what you're doing, I guess. You never see anything like that.
Well,
And
less cameras, less social media. We saw a situation this year in the NFL with Damar Hamlin where the guy had a heart attack on the field and they stopped the game. They canceled it, and um, the game wasn't played. But that's 25 years later.
right.
26 years later, where we have different things set in place, and that's what happens when you're in uncharted territory, and like there's just not enough knowledge to go around. But it was certainly quite the story, and just a heartbreaking end to Owen Hart's prolific wrestling career. I will never forget one of the funniest moments. Me and my cousin used to watch every pay-per-view, and I recorded on a VHS tape, and he would come down because he never got to watch with his family because his dad would never buy the pay-per-view. So he knew that he was able to come down and like watch pay-per-view. And I don't remember what exactly pay-per-view this was, but it was when Owen turned on Brett.
Oh yeah, I think it was at the Survivor Series. Well, he turned on him a couple times. He turned on him, and was this when Brett injured his leg?
Yes.
Yes, that was at the Royal Rumble. So that
So
was
was
at
it
the
the
Royal Rumble.
was it the Royal? I think it was like 98 maybe, or 97,
Brett
maybe
ended
even
up
earlier
coming
now.
out and winning that Royal Rumble. Well, at least he tied. No, it wasn't 97. I want to say it was like 94.
Maybe, oh yeah, it could have been 94, 95. But
Yeah.
me and my cousin rewound the part where like they're carrying Bret Hart back. They're carrying him back, and they got a close up of Owen Hart, and he just has like the all time worst fumble of his words, and he's trying to explain why he did what he did, and he's like, and that's why I kicked your leg out of your leg.
A classic line.
And
You know,
he spits, and it's like he's got loogie hanging from his face. And dude, we rewound that part like 12 times
I
and
kicked
couldn't.
your leg out of your leg.
That's why I kicked your leg out of your leg.
Years later, he ended up another thing, he broke he was involved in Stone Cold getting his neck broken in one of the worst neck injuries on WWE television, and he had the t-shirt he came out with later at Owen 316 says, I just broke your neck. Like dude is, if you want to hear some stories, look up Bret Hart's Hall of Fame induction, and the stories he tells. Bret Hart is an all-time storyteller, and he tells some stories about Owen Hart and how he was a big ribber, and how someone that he would always get one over on the guys, and is notorious prankster and whatever. If you want to get a chuckle and hear some good stories, listen to that Hall of Fame induction.
He was a good
One
friend.
last thing, Owen Hart, as he was falling, it is said that he was falling. The referee was in the ring and he was coming down and he yelled for the ref to get out of the way, saving the referee's life as he hit the turnbuckles and obviously lost his life. So that's a hero move right there, getting the guy out of the way as you know you're falling down to your death. So I guess we should have ended the show with that, but we're gonna go to the top debuts of all time. WWE recently posted a list of the top debuts in WWE history. And Tim, I don't know if they're doing this on purpose, but
They're fucking with us.
they're fucking with us. I'm going to give you the top 5. Number 5, Brock Lesnar's debut. Brock Lesnar came out, destroyed a bunch of people with Paul Heyman, power bombed Mr. Spike Dudley like 5 times in a row. It was an incredible debut. I can't deny that one.
Poor Spike, dude. He took a lot of fucking Jesus Christ.
He was the man. Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey's debut at the Royal Rumble. Tim, where was that Royal Rumble at?
That was in Philadelphia, Tommy.
Philadelphia. So I can't hate on that one too much. You obviously have to throw a woman in there. Check the box. Number 3, Goldberg. Goldberg's debut in the WWE. Nah. Number 2, Kane. Now, Kane, one of the greatest characters in WWE history. If you're going to think of a character, I would say he's the number 2 character of all time behind The Undertaker, someone, a quote-unquote fictional character. Undertaker, then Kane. 1997, Bad Blood, the first ever Hell in a Cell. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. D-Generation X is just finally starting. Bret the Hitman Hart is leaving the company for WCW. The match, the music hits. My God, that's got to be Kane. All-time debut, all-time career, number 2 on the list. Number 1.
Well, hold on. What was the Tom? Do we have enough time?
Yeah, let's go ahead. What's up?
Well, so I don't remember the build up to Kane. Like, what was there like vignettes? Was there?
There was vignette. There was a big thing. Undertaker and Paul Heyman had split, and Paul Heyman had said that he had a big secret. He had a big secret to tell about the Undertaker, and that everyone's gonna find out, and that his brother was still alive. Kane was still alive, and Undertaker said, "No way, he burned in the fire at the house." And Undertaker could have saved him, but he didn't save him. And Paul Bearer made him feel awful for all that stuff. And then, he was screwed by Shawn Michaels as a guest referee at SummerSlam. Shawn Michaels hit the Undertaker in the head with the chair, costing him the match to Bret Hart. Bret Hart wins the title, starts the feud with Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker, which there's a lot of interference. Him and Triple H start D-Generation X. So they decide to create this structure, the Hell in the Cell, so that no one can get involved. They could climb over in a cage match, but a cell match, Hell in the Cell, they couldn't get in. So they created the Hell in a Cell. It was the first ever Hell in a Cell match, in my opinion, the best Hell in a Cell match of all time. But that was the debut of Kane. Ironically enough, Rick Rude died the night before, and they had the pay-per-view that day. And not Rick Rude, Brian Pillman. I'm sorry, Brian Pillman died the night before. Another member of the Hart family. So Kane was the number 2 debut of all time.
So Kane, okay, I got it. All right, I'm fine. I'm good.
So then the number 1 debut of all time is the Shield at the 2012 Survivor Series. They came out, took out Ryback, took out John Cena, and helped CM Punk win the match. Obviously, all the members of the Shield have had an incredible career. Roman Reigns, one of the best careers in professional wrestling history. Seth Rollins, one of the best professional wrestlers, if not the best professional wrestler in the world today. And Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. John Moxley, has had an incredible as well, the 3 members. So I don't know how they're basing this debut on, what they're basing it on. Is it on the actual, like, the shock of the debut? Is it on the history of the wrestler after their debut, because I could see why they would have the Shield number one. Kane obviously had the greatest career of a character besides The Undertaker. Ronda Rousey is a big time women's champ, and Brock Lesnar, you could argue he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Obviously one of the biggest draws of all time. To me, the glaring, and I wonder if this one crossed your mind, the glaring miss is what debut, Tim?
Hmm.
Who do you think? Who do you think is the big one that's missing? Tim,
I mean, Coco
it
Beware.
doesn't matter what you think. Y2J, Chris Jericho,
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah,
debut
yeah,
is, it's one of the greatest debuts in professional wrestling
yeah.
history. The countdown to Y2J. Finally, the countdown goes down. The music hit. He comes out. Welcome to Raw is Jericho. Him and
Well,
The Rock going back and
the music itself was just like ridiculous. To break the walls down,
yeah.
dude. Uh, I remember watching that in this very basement, and just being blown away. And this was before, like, dude, I remember WrestleZone.com was like something that I used to go on all the time, right? Like, it was like, oh, yeah, like WrestleZone.com, it'll give you all the results and all that shit. And like, there was rumors on there that like Jericho was leaving WCW to come to WWE, and I was, or WWF at the time, and I was like, dude, that would be fucking awesome. And it was such a game changer, dude. It was like major, like you're taking one of their best and putting it into the Attitude Era,
Yeah.
which was just like, it was just bananas. And then like, once you start seeing that countdown, you're like, holy shit, like this is actually real. But you
And then the
never
big
knew.
Jericho on the board, and you see
Yeah.
Jericho, the crowd pops like crazy.
Yeah.
This is in the heat of the Monday Night Wars, and now you got one of the biggest stars from WCW and one of the first ones to come from WCW over to WWF at the time, now WWE. And it was like, whoa, now they're getting guys where all the big wrestlers were going to WCW, and you would see a Kevin Nash,
Yeah.
you would see a Scott Hall, obviously Hogan went over, Macho Man, everyone was going over to WCW, and now this was one of the first ones that came back or came over to WWE, and a huge victory for WWE.
And what a perfect just setup with what Vince did with having him come out while The Rock is in the ring. Cause like, I mean, these two guys are the best probably ever. Top five guys, top
On
10
the mic,
guys on the mic
yeah,
to go back and forth. And look,
I would say two top tens.
like, you have Jericho, who knows he's coming into a situation where, like, dude, I mean, you're talking to, like, there's nothing bigger than The Rock and Stone Cold at that point.
I
So
would say The Rock is the greatest on mic wrestler of all time.
yeah.
I don't think there's anyone that is better than him.
And you're sitting there and you debut and you get to speak to
The
or have
great
an
one.
interaction with the great one. And look, you're going to take some heat, right? It was perfect. It was absolutely hysterical how it played out, and that still goes on to this day. Like, it's still a mainstay in the WWE universe. It's unbelievable that it still has that cachet that it had 23 years ago when it first happened.
And they're not even putting it in the top five. Come on, WWE. Quit playing with us.
Oh, hold on. No. Don't hit the music yet.
What? Cut my music. What's up?
I have one callback and one thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
Number one, the the fact that Kane, okay, was Dr. Isaac Yankem
Oh, yeah.
is so just like, it has to be one of the greatest rewrites of all time for a
Do you know who
character.
else he was?
Oh God, he was probably no. Give it to me.
Fake Diesel. When Razor when Razor Ramon and Diesel went over to WCW, WWF created. They thought, oh, it wasn't the wrestler. We can make anyone a character, and they made a Diesel and a Razor Ramon, and it wasn't them. It was like these new
Right.
guys, and the fake Diesel was Kane, aka Isaac Yankem, and he was Isaac Yankem's fake Diesel, and then eventually Kane. And I think putting the mask on him was a great call because you could kind of hide. Wait a second, we've seen this guy before, haven't we? Wasn't he yanking teeth?
Wait,
Yeah.
wasn't he that Dennis wrestler
Yeah.
guy? Um, that well, like we could probably come up with a list for next episode for one of like better rewrites. Like obviously
I don't think
the
there is a better one.
I mean the Godfather, Papa Shango, that type of deal is
Yeah.
okay, but I mean we can come up with a couple others. But the other thing I wanted to touch base with you on, Tom, was something I sent you over the weekend. It was Saturday night, and I got dialed into some old WWE
Ah, the mega
archive.
powers.
Yes. And I got into, I think it was WrestleMania 2, was it?
What, the
What?
mega powers explode?
Yeah,
No, the mega powers explode would be 5.
5.
Yeah, WrestleMania
And
5.
the build up with Miss Elizabeth
Oh,
and
he looked at her with lust in his eyes.
dude, I mean, just an awesome, like, dude, storytelling at its finest back in the day, dude.
When there's that moment with them in the locker room and he's pointing in his face, what are you doing, brother? And then
Yeah,
Hogan gives it back a little bit. And Hogan is a big dude. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He
yeah,
like it's funny now because we saw him older too, and he's not as big as a Goldberg when that was going on. But back in the day, Hogan was the ultimate male Thunder Lips. You know what I mean? And
sure, yeah.
so if you got a chance now, Timmy, how did you watch it? Did you just stumble upon WrestleMania 5 and you decided to watch it, or was this WrestleMania
No,
Rewind that you were watching?
no, I really dove into it because I honestly had nothing to do, and I was like sitting there, like kind of breezing through some shit, and I was like, you know what? Let me throw in like an old school WWE match, and
I love
dude,
that.
the Mega Powers is something that I knew about, but I never really like dove into it, right? Like, so I
Okay.
didn't know like the backstory. I knew about Miss Elizabeth and
All time.
obviously Randy Savage, but I didn't realize that the story that they created, and they did it together. And yeah, there was a lot of truth in what the storyline was. So like Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth were actually a legit couple.
Oh yeah. And there
And
was a lot of jealousy
a
issues
lot
with
of jealousy.
Randy
Yeah.
Savage and
Yeah.
all the great story, every great story there's a little bit of truth in there and that's where they say when they're developing these characters, a Stone Cold, you're going to be yourself, but times 5, times 10 or whatever it is, your actual self, but like over the top, as so this whole storyline. And you know Randy had won the WrestleMania title the year
Got the belt,
before,
put him
and he had
over,
the
and
belt, and hey, you're trying to take this away from me, you're trying to take my wife, the whole deal. It's good storytelling. And
yeah.
if you haven't really, if you want to catch up on that and you have an hour to kill, I would definitely suggest going to watch what's called WrestleMania Rewind. I wish they kept making them, but when they first started the network, ironically, we're playing his music. They started these things called WrestleMania Rewind, where they highlighted some of the greatest matches and storylines from WrestleMania. So the first half hour, they tell the story, the whole story of the match, the build, everything. And
Wait,
then
who's the narrator?
for WrestleMania Rewind, oh geez, I don't know his
Because
name.
I think that's what I was watching, to be
Well,
honest with
then
you.
you hit the jackpot, brother.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
no, it was cool.
if I could suggest one, then after that, obviously the Mega Powers is a great one. Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 25, WrestleMania Rewind. If you haven't watched it and you're a professional wrestling fan, must watch. Highly.
Tune in right now.
Tune in right now. Tim.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Before we go, we appreciate you listening. Another episode of Jabroni Drive. I'd say our best episode yet. Available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Please give us a like, share, subscribe, that whole deal. Tell your friends if you got a wrestling fan friend out there, say, hey, listen to these two jabronis talk about their stuff.
And if you don't listen, we got 2 words for you.
Suck it! We appreciate you listening to Jabroni Drive. New episodes every week. Tim, anything to say to all the Schmidt and Lavelle lights out there?
New t-shirts every week. Yo, big ups to Homage for supplying the t-shirts, baby.
Maybe we'll get a sponsorship from them. Thank you for listening. Till next time, we'll see you after Night of Champions. Full review coming next week. God bless America.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, I like that, though. It's solid. Go with that. The Mega Powers.
The Mega Powers. Tim and Tom. Schmidt and Lavelle.
What you gonna do, brother?
When Jabroni Drive runs wild.
Where's the sign? There's no sign in the back. What happened to Jabroni Drive? Yes. Yes.